Hey guys, I'm here with Neil today. And Neil, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Neil Wyant. I'm Managing Director at Ventures. We're the venture and commercialization arm for university hospitals in Cleveland, Ohio.
And Neil, what is it that you do there?
Oh, I do several things, but mostly my job is to create new revenue streams for the institution.
And you were talking about the types of ventures you tend to invest into. So what are those?
So we'll invest in things that come from within. So if there are opportunities that are interesting where we think we can create value, we'll invest in those and bring other partners in. And we'll invest in outside opportunities as well, where we can lean in strategically and have some sort of strategic relationship with those outside entities.
This is the Darshan Talks podcast, regulatory guy, irregular podcast with host Darshan Kulkarni. You can find the show on Twitter at Darshan Talks or the show's website at darshantalks.com.
And what I thought was an interesting piece was this unusual arm, if you will, to your fund, if you will, which is you tend to get into lab spaces and into pharmacies as well. Could you talk a little bit more about your experiences with that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we tend to get into those things, but unlike some of the other commercialization and venture businesses at other hospital systems, we have under our banner a couple of operating businesses that are core adjacencies to the hospital system. So that includes specialty pharmacy, which has evolved to include retail pharmacy. It includes lab services. It includes home care. We have a joint venture in hospice as well that sits within our purview.
I love the reason we started recording this podcast. We happen to be sitting at the airport, and I overheard the conversation. And we have Patrick, who's actually one of Neil's people who work with him. Yeah, colleagues. I blanked on the word. Thank you. Which is now why you can hear the background noise. You were talking about the types of potential companies you find extremely valuable, or at least more interesting than others. Could you talk a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, so when we're looking outside at outside opportunities to invest, we're looking for opportunities where we can lean in and strategically add value. Mm-hmm. We, as a customer, as a clinical trial partner, as a pilot site, and in doing so, we can effectively reduce our investment risk because as a customer, we have unique insight. So we come both as a customer who can accelerate the company through a commercialization process, mm-hmm. and as an investor where we can deploy capital alongside of our strategic involvement.
And what have you found to be the biggest problems you tend to face?
Finding an internal champion is sometimes a problem. So if we don't have an internal champion, we won't take a next step with an outside company. And it's hard to get the attention of these busy physicians or these busy executives in the hospital.
So what advice do you have? Should they go find their own internal champion first?
That's certainly one way, and we have internal champions who come to us with opportunities. Frequently, those opportunities haven't been vetted at all, and it's the next shiny object in front of them.
Right.
So a lot of our time is then spent figuring out, is this a best-in-class opportunity or just another opportunity that happens to have a little shine on it for the moment.
So how do you draw that distinction? Does it tend to be based on P&Ls, or does it tend to be based on unique IP? I mean, obviously it's a combination of everything, but what sort of jumps out at you?
Oh, a variety of things, but you can usually, you want to understand what their unique value proposition might be, what their competitive advantage might be, how sustainable that advantage might be. That could be a technology-based advantage or IP-based advantage, or it could be a market-based advantage, or it could be a financial advantage where they've got a syndicate of people around them who are really creating a strong environment for that company to succeed.
So when you look at company success, when I work with clients, I tend to find that they have different windows of time that they look at. You've got some that look at I want to exit out in 2 years, and therefore I'm looking for a multiplier of, 3x to 5x. Others are looking for a longer term. What kind of term do you tend to look at, or does that just change depending on the company?
I think it really varies from company to company. We don't go in saying we need to get an exit in 2 years or we need to get an exit within 5 years. In the healthcare space, if you're looking at a device, it's one thing. If you're looking at a life sciences, pharmaceutical, biotech, it's going to be a different timeline. And if you're looking at healthcare IT, it's different as well. So the regulatory path and process and costs and the time to acquire customers are all different for all these companies.
So what do you think is the smartest way for a physician within your hospital university system to sort of go, you know what, I have an idea, what should I do next? What do you tend to advise them?
Come talk to us and submit an invention disclosure, and that's the way we start to capture and protect their intellectual property. So for us, that's typically a first step. Tell us about your idea, let's get an invention disclosure, and then let's figure out how we can best protect it, what the market value might be, what the commercialization path. Is this an incremental improvement in a license, or is it a really seminal idea around which we could build a business?
So do you tend to prefer platform technologies when you talk about seminal ideas, or are you agnostic for the most part?
Well, from within it is what it is.
Okay.
It really is going to vary. We can't force people to invent certain ways.
Sure.
So we really are just opportunistic in what comes to us and try to maximize the value, pick the right commercialization path, and maybe test out a couple of paths as we're going through the process.
Yeah, and one of the things that you mentioned that was interesting to me and how this conversation got started was you've only been here for about 8 months, and before that you had a unique background that sort of allowed you to vet things better than, shall we say, the average bear. So could you talk a little bit more about that and why you're uniquely positioned to help guide these companies?
So I've been doing commercialization work for about 25 years. I set up and ran a tech transfer office very early on in my career. I then went out and was an operator in companies that were some successful and exited, and others that failed miserably but learned from. For the last 10 years, I've been doing venture work for a family office where I set up and managed a venture investing business doing early stage, mostly health tech, and quite a bit in Israel.
So before we sort of sign off on this podcast, how could someone reach out to you or your office if they think that they have something that you guys might find valuable?
So you can certainly always reach out through LinkedIn. You can reach out through the website where we've got either invention, opportunity ideas to submit, or just reach out because all of our names and contact information are listed.
And what is the website again?
uhventures.org.
Perfect. So stay tuned, and we'll have some more stuff for you as we continue. Thanks again.
This is the Darshan Talks podcast. Regulatory guy, irregular podcast with host Darshan Kulkarni. You can find the show on Twitter at Darshan Talks or the show's website at darshantalks.com.